Downtown Eugene to honor the lives of the 35 homeless people who died this year. Plus, an enemy of the honeybee has found its way in the Pacific Northwest, and we're not talking about humans.
I feel something great.
Live in Western Oregon, this is NBC 16 News at 11.
Tonight, a vigil to honor the lives of the homeless who have died on the streets of Eugene this year. Good evening and thanks for joining us on NBC 16 News at 11. Filling in for Alan Matthews, I am Alexis Thrower. About 100 people gathered at the Wayne Morse Free Speech Plaza to honor more than 30 who organizers say died this year. They say that number, based on information from local organizations, could be higher. Candles were lit during the ceremony and the names of those who died were read. Organizers say the deaths show the need for safe spaces and services for the homeless.
If our city has a reputation of being safe, then we are doing something right. Let's do more of it. Let's make the safest place possible for refugees of a hostile world who have no other options for sanctuary.
Organizers say the vigil comes at a time when tensions are rising over the growing homeless population in Lane County. According to the Homeless in Time report, the number of homeless people has increased 44% from 2018. What they're doing is illegal, but the dozens of homeless people now camping outside the state capitol in Salem say they have nowhere else to go. They've been arriving since last week when the city started enforcing a camping ban. Police say they will work to find a compromise, but the homeless say being shuffled around like cattle is no way to be treated.
It's wintertime right now. You know what I mean? So it's cold and it's raining a lot. So that doesn't help when you got to move different spots. Does that make sense? Because you're constantly moving and everything's wet, and you're just like, it makes it more, think about that person's health, think about how that person feels, you know what I mean? And that's not, how would you feel about that?
Community groups like the United Way are pitching in. They've been helping find new places for the homeless to go. On to our first look at weather. NBC 16 meteorologist Travis Knutson joins us now. Travis.
A few raindrops on the way for us as we head into our Christmas Eve evening. That'll carry over into our Christmas morning, but for the most part, Christmas Day looks nice and mild. Temperatures will be near average as well. Nothing too remarkable on the radar for the last couple of hours, and that's the way we stay through the next couple of days. Just a small little opportunity for maybe a few sprinkles as we get into parts of tomorrow evening. But here's a look at our temperatures tonight around the region, right around that freezing mark, maybe a little bit below, which is going to be possibly bringing a few icy spots, particularly on the bridges and some of those overpasses if you're up early enough for our Christmas Eve morning. Heading into tomorrow afternoon, mid-40s on the way, but how is that Christmas Day looking? I'll give you a full look ahead at my full forecast coming up here in just a couple minutes.
Thank you so much, Travis. Agricultural authorities in Washington are investigating the arrival of an Asian giant hornet in the state. According to the Washington State Department of Agriculture, a resident found the nearly 2-inch insect in the city of Blaine on the U.S.-Canada border. It was dead, but the resident also reported seeing a live one fly into the forest. The department took the dead specimen. The Asian hornet, the largest pest of its kind, is an enemy of the honeybee. According to Purdue University's pest tracker, it can kill as many as 40 bees per minute. The insect is normally dormant in the winter and has never been seen in Washington state. A Canadian official said it's likely migrated from Canada. After a neurovirus outbreak closed down a school district in Albany, we wanted to find out the status of neurovirus here in Lane County. We got an update from Public Health since winter is the time when most cases of neurovirus occur. Lane County Public Health says that there have been reported cases at local schools and living facilities. However, they say this is normal for this time of year. So far, no facilities or schools have closed down due to neurovirus, but as we head into the holidays, Public Health wants to remind everyone of some tips to avoid spreading it among friends and family.
Norovirus can live quite a long amount of time on surfaces, touch surfaces, serving handles, countertops, shaking hands and hugging people. All those things can increase the chances of norovirus transmission among our family members.
Public Health says a mixture of 1/3 cup of bleach to every gallon of water is going to be the best sanitizer for neurovirus. They also say to wash your hands with soap and water, as hand sanitizer alone may not be effective. And of course, if you feel unwell, stay away from others. The FDA has approved a new drug for those who suffer from migraines. It's called Ubrogepant. It will be sold under the name Ubrivli by the pharmaceutical giant Allergan. The FDA announced the drug's approval today. It could be an alternative for those who don't respond to or are unable to take medications now on the market. Nausea, sleepiness, and dry mouth were the most commonly reported side effects in a study published last month. It's estimated that 40 million people in the U.S. and 1 billion worldwide suffer from migraines. Big changes for the tobacco and vaping industries. The U.S. has raised the minimum age for buying tobacco products to 21. Can that slow the number of illnesses and deaths associated with those products? Well, Meredith Wood explores on today's Health Minute.
President Donald Trump signed some major health provisions in a sweeping spending bill late Friday, including raising the minimum age to purchase tobacco products to 21. According to the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, 19 states and Washington, D.C., along with hundreds of towns, have already raised the minimum age from 18. And the measure on a federal level has long had bipartisan support. Trump has spoken in the past of wanting to raise the minimum age to purchase tobacco and flavored e-cigarettes. Health officials and parents continue to have concerns with the growing popularity of vaping among young people and the outbreak of vaping-related lung injuries and deaths. According to the latest federal study, 1 in 4 high school seniors admitted to vaping nicotine. But despite the new age restriction, some advocates say the youth epidemic will continue unless vaping products are banned completely. The new law will take effect sometime next year. For today's Health Minute, I'm Meredith Wood.
Are you feeling the holiday stress? While it's supposed to be a time of peace and joy, experts say the holiday season can also trigger real mental and physical stress. Dr. Frank McGeorge takes a closer look at why the holidays can feel so stressful.
Struggling with holiday stress? Clinical psychologist Dr. Donna Rockwell says blame it on your brain.
The more we get ramped up around the holiday season, the more our neurons are firing so fast because our amygdala is engaged. That's the fight or flight response. If you don't get your Christmas list done, you're going to go into full amygdala.
The result is a chemical reaction that pumps stress hormones into our body, leaving us feeling even worse. Rockwell says if you feel it happening, stop and focus on your 5 senses.
What do I smell? What do I hear? What do I touch? What do I see? So if you can come back to those things, it stops the thought pattern.
That pause is enough to help reset your brain.
It's really important to pause at many times during the day, and especially at the holiday season, so you can enjoy it, so you are not coming from your fight or flight response.
Overscheduling is a common trigger for stress.
People make the mistake of trying to cram too much in. This party, going to this event, having to go shopping, getting this for the refrigerator. And we can be so spent at the end of that we don't even enjoy the holidays.
Her advice? Slow down, do less so you can enjoy more. And if you don't get to everything on your to-do list,
forget about it. It doesn't matter. What matters is that we're all together and enjoying this precious time.
It's also important to leave time for sufficient sleep and exercise. Both are essential for managing stress and help you function more efficiently, mentally and physically as you take the tasks that are most important to you. Coming up next on NBC 16 News at 11, the standoff on Capitol Hill is only growing more intense as the impeachment trial goes into the next steps. Plus, the Oregon Supreme Court has passed a new traffic stop law, adding an extra layer of protection for commuters.
Tomorrow on NBC 16 Today.
Happy holidays, friends.
NBC 16 News at 11.
A deepening divide tonight on next steps for President Trump's impeachment trial in the Senate as Republican and Democratic leaders argue over witnesses and documents. NBC's Hallie Jackson has more.
A holiday hold on impeachment proceedings as key leaders dig in today.
We can't take up a matter we don't have, and so hopefully they'll be on the way over at some point.
Republican leader Mitch McConnell waiting on House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to send him those 2 articles of impeachment so a Senate trial can begin. But Pelosi today insists she won't take the next step in the process until we know what sort of trial the Senate will conduct. The president tonight on Twitter responding, she is trying to take over the Senate and Crying Chuck is trying to take over the trial. No way. But Democrats say they just want what's fair, with Senator Chuck Schumer today making the case in a new letter to colleagues, pushing not just for witnesses in a trial, like Acting Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney and former National Security Advisor John Bolton, but documents, too, about the president's request for investigations in Ukraine that could have helped him politically, even as military aid to the country was on hold.
We say to President Trump, release the emails, let your aides testify. We say to Leader McConnell, a fair trial with the facts. Only the facts.
Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi invited President Donald Trump to give the annual State of the Union address in February, despite a divide in Washington during the impeachment process. This leaves many curious about the Democrats' strategy for impeachment and removing Trump from office. Congressman Peter DeFazio voted in favor of impeachment last week, saying the Speaker wants to make sure the Senate will hold a fair trial before releasing the articles of impeachment.
Hopefully that'll all be settled before the president gives the State of the Union, but who knows? These are very unusual times.
The State of the Union address is scheduled for February 4th, 2020. Reasonably related questions. That's what officers and deputies in Oregon have to stick to when they pull someone over. The Oregon Supreme Court handed down the ruling in November. It effectively bans officers from using a routine traffic stop to search a driver's car for a more serious offense, such as illegal drugs or guns. NBC 16's Christelle Coomway went on a ride-along with a Springfield police officer to learn more about how this new ruling affects their job.
Yeah. The reason I'm stopping you back here when you're pulling out of Walmart, you didn't come to a complete stop.
A new Oregon Supreme Court ruling is changing the way traffic stops are conducted.
Now, during a traffic stop, law enforcement is only allowed to question somebody or talk to somebody about the reason they were initially pulled over for.
Oregon officers can no longer use a routine traffic stop as an excuse to search for illegal guns or drugs. Eric Sorby with the Springfield Police Department calls the new ruling challenging.
That was one investigative technique that we were using to be able to find, some stolen property, people's stolen credit cards, stuff like that.
While law enforcement calls the ruling challenging, public defender Brooke Reinhardt calls it a benefit to Oregonians.
Who have a constitutional right to not be questioned in ways that are either coercive or the ways that they don't want to be questioned unless there's a reason for it.
Reinhardt says data is still being collected to determine if racial profiling by police is an issue here.
But what we do know is that people of color can be disproportionately impacted by police stops.
It has nothing to do with you being black. Has to do with the actions that you take.
Sorby says on traffic stops, they're only looking for one thing.
The criminal element, and it has nothing to do with somebody's skin, race, gender, sexual orientation, any of that.
With reasonable suspicion, the new ruling does allow officers to ask further questions.
If officers see something in the car that looks like a gun, they can ask, do you have a gun in the car? But they can't just stop you and say, do you have guns? They can't start out with that unless they actually have a reason for it.
The Springfield Police Department is reviewing the ruling and creating new instructions for officers.
Be careful, okay?
I'm Christelle Kumi reporting.
The Eugene Police Department says they are also reviewing the ruling. Reinhardt says the Oregon Supreme Court has the final authority on the matter, which means the decision cannot be appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. Oregon State Police have identified the remains of a man found near an Interstate 5 off-ramp last summer. In June, ODOT crews found a human skull near exit 124 in Roseburg. DNA testing identified the remains as those of Scott Evanson of Myrtle Creek. According to the Douglas County Jail, Evanson had been arrested 32 times between 2007 and June of 2015. And if you have any information about Evanson between 2015 and 2018, call Oregon State Police. We now know the name of the man who's accused of firing shots out a window yesterday in downtown Eugene. Sean Colin Fox is charged with unlawful use of a weapon and disorderly conduct. Eugene police say they got reports of shots fired on Olive Street, and when officers got there, the suspect fired rounds out of an apartment window. EPD says SWAT took over and used explosives to get inside, and Fox surrendered to officers. According to EPD, the gunfire damaged a nearby car, but no one was hurt during the shooting. Turning to weather now, NBC 16 meteorologist Travis Knudsen is standing by for a look at what's coming up in your full forecast. Travis?
Temperatures tonight cooling down to close to that freezing mark for many spots, but it should be a dry one at least for the next few hours. But we have another opportunity for some rain coming up. I'll tell you exactly when. That's next.
Skycam 16 gives you a real-time look at today's weather with Chief Meteorologist Travis Knudsen.
Bit of a gray one across the region today with some sun breaks here and there. Here's a nice little time lapse of our Monday with some low clouds to start off the day. The afternoon did see some of that sunshine breaking on through. And while things are dry for now, we do have another opportunity for some rain coming up over the next 24 hours, particularly for our Christmas Eve evening into our Christmas morning. But the satellite and radar pretty much all day long has been nice and dry. However, if we zoom on out and look out off to the west, you'll notice one big thing. A lot of clouds directly out here. And these clouds is the next opportunity for rain. And while in this view it might look kind of mighty, it's actually a pretty weak storm that's moving on in. There's a little bit of rain riding along this cold front that'll swing on through late tomorrow evening into early parts of Christmas morning, but there's not a lot of energy riding along with the storm system. So basically once it hits landfall, the rain breaks apart very quickly. And then the second storm beyond it, a little bit farther to the south, this is no threat to us because it's moving its way down to the south into Southern California, bringing some rain showers there for Christmas morning. But what we get to deal with instead of that storm is some of the dry, mild air that moves in associated with its high pressure center out off to the west. And this dry and mild air is not only with us for the majority of our Christmas day, but beyond it as well. Our Thursday, Friday, and even parts of the weekend stay pretty dry here in Western Oregon. So here's a look at the short-term forecast. Overnight tonight into tomorrow morning, stopping this fairly early on, right around 9 o'clock. We're starting to see some clouds move on in for our Christmas Eve. The rain showers out here arrive for pretty much everybody by the afternoon and the evening. This is at 8 o'clock on our Tuesday, where you can see the rain around the area. Higher elevations, about 4,500 feet and above, maybe seeing some light snowfall, but it'll just be some flurries up in the Cascades. Then as we get into our early parts of Christmas morning, this is at 7 o'clock, some clouds overhead, maybe a couple little raindrops here and there, but we can almost call Christmas Day a nice and dry one. And even as we progress throughout our holiday, some clouds are with us, but rain showers really back off and things are looking quiet. Everybody heading home after the holidays, or if you're sending those guests away after the holidays, dry weather expected there as well. Temperatures tonight, however, getting to right around that freezing mark. So if you're up early enough tomorrow morning on the roadways, there could be a few icy spots, particularly on those overpasses or the bridges, but that's only if you're up before sunrise, really. Then as we head into the afternoon, temperatures right around 40 degrees for our Christmas Eve. A look at your 7-day forecast here for the Eugene-Springfield area. A couple raindrops Christmas morning, but go ahead and call that day pretty much a dry one. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, no raindrops there. Next opportunity for rain will probably be on the tail end of that forecast sometime into Sunday or Monday of next week. Up and down the coast, 30s tonight. Mid to upper 40s on the way tomorrow. 48 in Bandon, Port Orford at 48 degrees. North Bend, Coos Bay area at 46. I'll look at the 7-day forecast for the coast. Few raindrops as we get into Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, but other than that, pretty much dry for the rest of the week. The weekend starting dry, but Sunday could see some of those showers return back to the Oregon coast. Temperatures very mild, though, right around average for this time of year. The Umpqua Valley close to freezing tonight for a few spots. 40s on the way tomorrow. Southerly wind 0 to 5 miles per hour. Look here at the 7-day forecast for Roseburg. Seeing some of those raindrops Tuesday night into Christmas morning, but the majority of Christmas should be a dry one. Partly cloudy skies on Thursday and Friday. Clouds start to roll on in on Saturday, and watching the rain showers return as we get into Sunday.
Thank you so much, Travis. And coming up next in sports, Oregon State football receiving some good news today. One of the Beavs' top linebackers announcing he will return for the 2020 season.
You have a foundation of strong values. GCU
NBC 16 Sports Desk is brought to you by Three Rivers Casino Resort.
A few years ago, we did a story on a 13-year-old at the Lane County Fair who entered 86 items into the various exhibits.
I've always just wanted to be an inspiration for other kids to do stuff that's maybe a little out of the ordinary.
Now that 13-year-old is 17 and Maya Reddy is a champion archer. Brandon Cameraman has more on the extraordinarily talented teen.
Bullseye.
When I get up on the line to shoot, the only thing I think about is archery.
A local celebrity, a local Katniss Everdeen.
I love it for the sport that it is.
It may seem trivial to see a female archer and just lump her in with the Hunger Games.
It's super embarrassing in the archery world to be one of those girls.
But that's where this story starts.
I read it and I told my dad, I was like, hey, I want to be like Katniss.
Like it is for so many, for Maya, middle school was tough, emotionally, socially. So her dad took her to the bow rack in Springfield.
I was just over the moon when I hit the target, and then it became more than that.
She started excelling pretty quickly, and then we went from 1 day a week to 3 days a week to on her off days that we weren't actually doing a lesson, she'd come in and just practice and stuff.
That was a good shot.
To now, at 17 years old,
This one is very special.
Maya is a cadet member of the U.S. National Archery Team, USAT.
I made USAT this year in September.
And what it has done for her confidence.
It gave me a lot of mental strength beyond what I thought it was going to give me.
What it has done for her life.
I wouldn't be where I'm at without archery. I'd probably still be very weak and very sad and feel very alone.
Unlike Katniss Everdeen, Maya isn't fighting for her life. But like Katniss, archery gave her a new meaning to life. And for that, she owes so much to the sport.
I think it's cool to be able to spread the love of the sport that brought me everything.
For her sport, for her country, and for her life. In Springfield, I'm Brandon Cameraman.
Maya is getting ready for the indoor season, which starts in February. She plans to graduate from high school a year early and could pursue archery in college. An Oregon State football player deciding Monday he will not graduate early. Hamilcar Rashid Jr. announcing on Twitter he will return to OSU for his senior season, saying, quote, after a long conversation with my family, I have decided to return to Oregon State for my senior season to capitalize on all opportunities, earn respect, grow as a player, and leave OSU better than I found it. The outside linebacker led the country with 22.5 tackles for loss and was tied for second with 14 sacks this past season. That's it for sports. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Maria. Now, coming up next on NBC 16 News at 11, elephants in Thailand got into the Christmas spirit, and the kids absolutely loved every minute of it.
It's 16 days of Christmas. Go to NBC16.com.
Customs have a very different look overseas, especially in Southeast Asia. Elephants in red and white Santa Claus outfits made a holiday appearance today at a school in Thailand. 4 jumbo male elephants put smiles on the faces of thousands of children who lined the streets to see them. The big animals and their handlers entertained the students, and as an added bonus, the elephants handed out toys and snacks using their trunks. The elephant troop came from one of Thailand's most famous elephant camps. The handlers put them through their paces, impressing the children with some dance moves and obedience shows. I love that. I absolutely love elephants. I just think they are so graceful in their movement, and it just warms my heart to see them do wonderful things for the kids. So thank you for watching NBC 16 News at 11. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon is next.
So Josh, you going for our Drive Safe and Safe discount?